Hey, football fans, thanks for joining me, the football guy, for today's episode of Throwback Thursday. Last week's focus was on the 1980 Buffalo Bills. Let's take a look at that recap. Last week's throwback focus landed on the 1980 Buffalo Bills. Chuck Knox, a successful coach for the Rams from 1973 to 1977, was picked to succeed Jim Ringo as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Knox would coach the Bills from 1978 to 1982, compiling 37 wins and 36 losses for a 50.7 win percentage. In 1980, he would guide the Bills to an 11-5 record and get them into the playoffs. Joe Ferguson was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the third round of the 1973 draft. He played 17 years in the league, his first 12 years with the Bills. He led the league in touchdowns in 1975 with 25 touchdowns, and he also led the league in 1977 in passing yards with 2,803 yards. Ferguson took all but 22 snaps in the 1980 season, passing for 2,805 yards and 20 touchdowns, and engineered a league-leading 4 game-winning drives. Overall, the Bills' rushing attack ranked 8th in the league for rushing yards and added 17 touchdowns on a 3.7 yards per carry average. Joe Cribbs was drafted in 1980 by the Bills in the second round, 29th overall. Cribbs had a Pro Bowl season that year, racking up 1,185 yards and 11 touchdowns. He would play in the NFL for 8 seasons, his first 5 with the Bills. 1980 was his best season, with 1983 a close second with 1,131 rushing yards. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler, making the team in 1980, 1981, and 1983. Curtis Brown was the second leading rusher on the team in 1980 with 559 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. He was drafted by the Bills in the third round of the 1977 draft. He played 7 years in the NFL, his first 6 with the Bills. He put up over 500 yards rushing in 78, 79, and 80. Roosevelt Leaks, a starter in Baltimore for the Colts in 1976, 77, and 78, came over to the Bills in 1980. He would take a backup role for the next 4 years with the Bills, his most productive season for the Bills coming in 1982 with 405 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Jerry Butler was drafted in the first round of the 1979 draft by the Bills and played all 7 years of his NFL career with the Bills. He was a starter for most of his career and suffered a knee injury that kept him from playing in 1984. He had a Pro Bowl season in 1980, piling up 832 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. Frank Lewis was drafted in the first round by the Steelers in 1971. He played 7 years for the Steelers and then came over to the Bills for the next 6 years. He produced over 1,000 yards receiving in 1979 and 1981 and earned a trip to the Pro Bowl in 1981. He was a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Steelers in 74 and 75. Joe Cribbs was not just the leading ground gainer for the Bills, but he was also a receiving threat. He caught 52 passes for 415 yards and 1 touchdown in 1980 and has his best receiving output in 1981, putting up over 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. Ben Williams was drafted by the Bills with the third round pick of the 1976 draft. He played his entire 10-year career with the Bills and was voted to the Pro Bowl in 1982. He became the full-time starter at defensive end in 1977, produced the most sacks in a season for his career in 1980 with 12 sacks. Fred Smerlas was drafted in the second round of the 1979 draft by the Bills and became a starter at nose tackle in 1980. He played 13 years in the league, the first 10 with Buffalo. He was voted to the Pro Bowl in 1980, 81, 82, 83, and 88. He earned a first-team All-Pro selection in 1982 and produced the most sacks in a season for his career in 1980 with 6.5. Steve Freeman played 13 years in the NFL, all but one of them in Buffalo. He started 134 out of 190 games for his career and had his best season in 1980 with 7 interceptions, returning 1 for a touchdown. Jim Richter was selected in the first round with the 16th overall pick and played 16 years in the NFL. He would be a full-time starter for 11 out of those 16 years and ended up starting 167 out of 218 games. He was a 2-time Pro Bowler in 1991 and 92 with the Bills. Running back Joe Cribbs was selected in the second round with the 29th overall pick and would play 8 years in the league. He was selected to the Pro Bowl 3 years, all with the Bills, and was also runner-up to Billy Sims for the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1980. Mark Brammer was selected in the 3rd round and enjoyed a 5-year career. He played his entire career in Buffalo and earned a starting role in 1981. 1981 was also his best season, hauling in 33 passes for 365 yards and 2 touchdowns. Well, that's our recap for today. I had forgotten what good players Joe Ferguson and Joe Cribbs and Fred Smerlas were. And I can honestly say I don't remember the name Ben Williams as a sack leader. But that's why I love doing these episodes, so I can dig into the past and uncover some unfamiliar names. Now let's see which team we'll be focusing on this week. As always, we'll spin 3 wheels. The first wheel will determine the team that we pull off the wheel for our focus. The second wheel will determine the decade, and the third wheel will pinpoint the exact year of our focus. So let's get to it. Here's our team picker. That's spinning here. Let's see who we're going to get this week. Let's see, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dallas, Denver. Looks like the Detroit Lions. So the team is going to be Detroit Lions. And now we need to go to our decade picker. Here's the decade picker, and we'll get that spinning. All right. 2000s, 2010s, so sometime in the 2010s. The Detroit Lions of 2010s, and let's see what exact year we're going to look for. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So it looks like the Detroit Lions of 2016. So Detroit Lions 2016 will be the next team for our focus. Okay, we've got our team set, and it's going to be the 2016 Detroit Lions. As always, I invite you to please comment on your favorite memories and players and stories so that we can all relive the glory of the past. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.